Tell us a story.
Yes, tell us a story.
All righty. Well, it's cold, and we actually got our first heavy snow, but it still didn't stick to the ground because the ground's still quite cool. But I remember when I was a kid that we'd get 4 or 5 feet a year, within just a couple of months of snow depth. And with the dry snows and stuff, with it blowing, I mean, they used to close down the highways. They'd have 18-foot snow drifts going across highways, and it would just impact and shut everything down. We used to, during that time, my family had a John Deere dealership, lawn and garden tractor dealership that sold chainsaws, tractors, lawnmowers, snowmobiles, all kinds of stuff. And we used to go up there and ride the snowmobiles around. We have a small tractor. We had one here in the swamp, and I used to take and pull. You'd always, back then, you don't see none of this stuff too much now, except on YouTube with people getting walloped and crashing and stuff, pulling things behind vehicles. But we used to pull behind that little tractor. I used to pull sleds and trash can lids. Well, I used to have a bunch of stuff when I worked at the dealerships, the car dealerships. I used to have a bunch of scrap auto parts. So we used to take hoods off of cars, and I'd take a hood off a car and flip it over and let my sister and my aunt and people sit on it and everything, and we'd be going along, and it'd be great. I mean, you could go going pretty fast, up to about 20 miles an hour, and it was great as long as there was snow. But we'd run into patches where they had put salt down, and it would start to grind on the asphalt, and it didn't take long at all for pulling that steel hood at 20 miles an hour on asphalt to where it tended to heat up a little bit. So they'd be sitting on there giggling and laughing, and all of a sudden you'd see them rolling off and rubbing snow on their butt and everything because it got so hot from the friction that it would burn them. In Michigan, when we used to go up to Michigan, we'd take a Volkswagen hood, flip it upside down, and bolt a set of handbars on it and a bucket seat in the center. And we used to tow it behind our sand rails all over the Silver Dunes, Lake Michigan Silver Dunes. And that was a blast. They even got guys up there that would take and ski down the slopes, the sand slopes and everything. But that sand had a real high abrasive rate on a lot of that stuff. So all of the hoods would start to wear thin after about 2 or 3 weeks. They'd get pretty thin, and the seat would wobble loose in them, and the skis and everything would just, they'd get destroyed. They weren't good for anything usually by the time we used them for that. But it's just funny as I look back, and we don't have that much snow this year. There's very little drifting any place. It's just a lot of it on the vehicles laying where it was cold. So, it just brings back memories of all those days. Of course, with my body the way it is now, just being out in the cold is bad enough. So, well, we're going to go ahead and get into the store. Don't really have a mount for this, so I'm going to go.
A few moments later.
Well, I just remembered some other time that we'd be out on the tractor, and I was hauling my sister. She probably was 12, 13, 14 years old. I was dragging her on one of those plastic discs tied to a really long rope on the back of the tractor, and I'd get the tractor going as fast as I could out in these fields. But we'd driven on the fields and rode around on them so much they were just packed snow. It was almost like a lake of ice. And we'd get her going really, really fast, and then I'd turn the tractor really sharp and get the centrifugal force with that long rope going around, and she would spin way out around and almost completely go around the tractor with the G-force pulling her around. And one time, she was wearing, winter gear and whatever, and I think she had on a brand new pair of blue jeans, and she was spinning and spinning, and she kept saying, "Don't do it, don't do it." Well, I was young, and I went ahead and did it anyway and spun her around, and she was moving. She was really cooking, going around sideways, and she started heading for these bushes and trees. she bailed off, and where she bailed off and skidded along on those blue jeans, it made a huge blue streak from the heat and the moisture as she was sliding along. It made a big blue streak in the snow, and it was there for many, many days until all of that melted and ran away. And she went home and told everybody, and that's one of her favorite stories to tell. When they start telling about me out on the tractor or out on my sandrow or dune buggy or pulling people and doing stuff, that's one of her favorite stories to tell. So I thought I'd tell that one, but it gives her a giggle to where he tried to kill me. No, I didn't. So, alrighty, see ya.
Story time is over.
Damn, that was annoying.